Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Welcome in. Jacob, are you at least 18 and do you believe in some kind of a God?
I believe in the God of the Christian scriptures as described in the Bible.
Cool, so you're Christian. What'd be the best
Yeah,
argument or evidence for the Christian God being real?
creation.
Can you demonstrate that there was a creation in the first place?
Can you demonstrate that it wasn't created?
I think that's an irrelevant question because we do exist and we have in science a principle that seems to hold true, which is that matter and energy can't be created or destroyed. And since we have things that exist and we can't get something from nothing, then the only logical inference is that there was never nothing. And the scientific data that I'm aware of would demonstrate that the universe has always existed.
So I kind of go with John Lennox's position here that the universe was created by God, and God isn't nothing.
Uh,
He is
Adorable,
spirit.
but what
So,
evidence do you have that the universe even needed to be created? Because all the data I'm aware of would demonstrate that all the stuff in the universe, even if it's just like a quantum field, always existed.
well, it didn't need to be exist. It didn't need to be created as a necessity, but God chose to create it because He wanted to.
Asking about his desires. We're going back to the argument for creation, right? I don't believe there was a creation. I have no reason to believe there
I
was a
do.
creation. I'm asking what evidence would
I
convince
I
me that
I,
there was a
I believe there
creation.
is.
Well, I know you do. I'm asking you for the evidence of it.
So, I'm going to be arguing from the scriptures, the Bible, and one of the things that the Bible says is that God chose to create everything that exists, including you,
So
including me. And you and I both bear the image of God. We look like Him. He did this for His good pleasure.
So you
He
believe that
wanted
there's a
to do
creation
this,
because the Bible said so.
not only because the Bible says so,
Okay, can you
but
give me
it's
something?
the primary evidence that I have.
Well, the Bible's not good evidence. You want to start there?
No, because I believe it is.
Well, you just appealed to the
Why is
Bible.
it? Why isn't it?
So you just appealed to the Bible. Do you want to talk about why I don't think the Bible's good evidence?
I had one question. I'm sorry, we just kind of got
What
thrown
you're
into
not going to do is
conversation.
dodge from the topic that you brought up. You said that you're justifying the creation because the Bible said that creation happened. I'm saying I don't think creation happened. I don't think we should believe it just because the Bible says it. And would you like to hear my reasons why I don't think we should believe the Bible on the topic of creation?
It sounds like you're going to tell me whether I want it to hear it or not.
Sounds to me like you need to actually follow along. Dialogues go in two different directions. Sometimes you get to say things, and sometimes I get to say things. And right now, I'd like to go down a dialogue path that you started. You started a dialogue tree where we went down the branch talking about why Bible is justification for things.
My tuning in and talking to you is because you had a statement and you created a
Yes.
YouTube channel.
Yep. And
And I'm
if
calling
you've
into that channel
And if you were following the
to.
conversation, we started with creation. You brought up creation. I was kind enough to let you start the talking point. You said that creation is evidence of God. I'm asking you for the creation of the evidence, and you're pointing to the Bible. Now I'm going to the Bible, and I'm going to demonstrate to you why I don't think we should believe the Bible when it says that we are created.
Okay,
Follow along?
I'm hearing you.
Okay, so in the creation account, it literally says that God created an earth and put a dome over top of it, a firm dome. Do you believe that there's a firmament?
There is an atmosphere.
Is there a dome?
It's a spherical atmosphere, so
Nope.
around the entire
Is there
Earth,
a hard, firm dome?
composed of noble gases. Yes,
Not answering my question. I said, is there a hard, firm, solid dome?
yes, composed of gases.
Gases are not hard, firm, and solid. It's literally a different
Then why do
state of
things explode in them?
it's literally a different state of matter, Jacob. A solid is not the same state of matter as a gas. I said hard, solid, and firm. Gases are not those things. I'm asking you, is there a dome over the earth that is hard, solid, and firm?
Where are you pulling that from? You said Genesis 1 or 2.
It's a yes or no question. Is there a dome over the earth that is hard, solid, and firm? It's crazy that you even have to think about this.
No, it's not, because
Are you a
you're
flat earther?
trying to put things in hard categories framed in your framing. You don't want to accept another person's framing. If we want to put another frame on it, you would reject that frame immediately, call it nonsense,
Jacob,
mute me.
I'm not asking you
throw
for
me
your
into the
frame.
back.
I'm asking you to answer my question.
Are you even open to having your mind changed? Can you answer that question?
Jacob,
are
it
you
sounds
even
like
open
you're
to
not
having
open to
your mind
having
changed?
your mind changed, which is why you're refusing to answer
I didn't call
simple
to have
yes
my
or no
mind changed. I'm calling to
questions.
convince you.
No one gives
Are
a shit.
you open to having your mind changed?
No one gives a shit about this meta commentary on what you think I'm willing to change my mind about. What they came to hear is a.
You said
What they came to
change my
hear
mind. I'm asking,
is
are you
a
open to having your
substance.
mind changed? If you're
They're
not open to
here.
having your mind changed, then you're just doing this for clout, clicks, likes, follows,
Jacob,
super
I'm
chats. It's not
here
about
to
us
believe anything
convincing you.
that's
It's about
true,
you
and you're
building
crashing out
your
like a coward.
business.
So pay attention.
I'm not. There is a dome.
I've been.
It's composed of noble gases.
I
I've
didn't
answered your
ask you
question.
if there's
Can
a
we move
gas
on?
dome. That's not my question. My question was.
There's not a hard dome.
My question
but
was.
things blow up in those gases. They are a
Okay,
barrier.
so there's no hard dome, is there?
It's a barrier.
That's not my question. Is there a hard, solid dome?
It doesn't say that it's a hard, solid dome.
I didn't say that it did. I'm asking you if there is one.
No.
Okay, now we can talk about what the Bible actually says. Do you know that the Bible does describe the dome?
Which scripture?
There's like a dozen of them. In fact, it refers to it.
But can you reference one, please, so I know where you're going?
Yeah, we can start.
Can we please do that?
We can start with the actual word for the dome in Hebrew, which is rakia. Do you know what a rakia is?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
So you don't.
Mm-mm.
The root rakia in Hebrew just means to hammer something out. It's the same word that we get when they're referring to like dome-shaped shields, dome-shaped bowls and saucers. It's just something that's hard and hammered out, which is why it was translated into the Greek as steroma, and it was translated into the Latin as firmamentum, if I remember correctly. All of these words in the original languages refer to something that is hard and solid, and the people who wrote these books literally described what it was made out of, and it turned out the Bible agrees. The Bible says it's hard like a cast metal mirror.
Well, it protects us from UV rays, solar winds, small meteoroids, and other crap flying through space. Protects us from quite a lot, I would say.
But is it hard like a cast metal mirror?
No, I would believe it's more, like I said, I believe it's composed of noble gases.
It's crazy that you won't answer my question. I'm asking, is the firmament you believe in, is it hard like a cast metal mirror?
Are you talking about the sky?
I'm asking you, your conception of the sky, is it hard like a molten cast metal mirror?
No,
okay,
but like a cast metal thing that protects you from projectiles, the atmosphere protects us from UV rays, solar winds, meteoroids.
Well, the
asteroids that are too
Bible
small
says that it's like the Bible says that the skies is hard as a molten mirror.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Bronze Age people only had certain categories to describe things.
Job 37 didn't say it was categorized like something you're describing. They're saying it's categorized like something that's hard. It says, can you, like him, spread out the skies hard as a molten mirror?
I'm sure that they only had certain categories that they would understand. And when language is limited and God is infinite, it can be really hard to describe an infinite being and his goings and comings and actions. So they probably only had certain categories that they can use, and they just kind of used the one that best fit what they saw.
So Hebrews didn't have a category for soft.
I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm just saying that ancient peoples had fewer categories than we probably do, and a more limited language than we probably do to describe things that they saw.
So you're saying the ancient Hebrews had no way of describing clouds?
I mean, they didn't have a way to describe God's chariot either. They described it
We're
as
not
a
talking
wheel
about
within a wheel
God's
spinning
chariot.
like a
We're not
gyroscope.
talking about God's chariot. We're talking
Well,
about the
I'm
sky.
pointing out other
So
instances.
did the Hebrews know that there were clouds in the sky?
Yes.
Or
They
do
did.
you think that they knew they were hard or soft?
I don't think they knew that either. No.
Okay, so they didn't know anything about clouds then.
No, they could observe them, but they couldn't capture them. I don't think that they thought of clouds as solid objects
No, that's not
because
true.
they seem to look like solid objects when you look at them.
They certainly didn't believe that clouds were solid objects. In fact, God describes himself as coming down in a cloud. And in fact, it describes that the priests would be within that cloud. They certainly didn't think that they were within a solid object. What they did believe was that those clouds rested underneath an actual hard, solid dome, and they described it like a cast metal mirror, which is ironic since a bunch of people in the ancient Near East believed the same thing. The Egyptians posited for hundreds and hundreds of years on what type of metal the firmament was made out of. They thought it was made out of bronze. Some of them said it was made out of crystal. Same thing with the Greeks and the Romans and everybody else. Even the Jewish rabbis went through great debates on whether or not they thought it was made out of a crystal or whether or not it was reflective like a polished metal.
Well, I mean, when you see the way that light refracts through the dome, you could confuse that as a crystalline structure because light does refract with water.
Could God confuse
I'm sure they've observed that. God's not the one describing it.
God is the one who wrote the
book. Moses wrote by God's dictation.
So God dictated the wrong thing?
And Moses... No, I'm saying that people using the information that they have, trying to depict heavenly, celestial happenings, are probably going to use the words that they think best fit what they see.
So God didn't tell them the right words?
No, God doesn't superintend that you describe it exactly in this way. There's only a couple of places where he does that.
You said he dictated to
Moses. He spoke to them what happened.
He spoke.
And then based on what they heard, they wrote down what they thought how best to interpret it.
So God spoke to Moses and Moses didn't write down God's words? He just reinterpreted God's words?
He said, "You will be as God to them. I will tell you what to say, and you will tell it to them."
To Pharaoh.
Yes, and he was talking. Well, he was talking also. He talked also to.
And then he reiterated. And then he reiterated verbatim what God told him to do. What I'm trying to figure out is why would God dictate a text to Moses to write, and then Moses not write down what God dictated?
I was saying he wrote it down, but he was trying to write it down in a way that the people who were hearing it would understand it.
Why didn't he just write it down in a way that's true?
Well, it is true because it's what God said, but they needed that people. I mean, you try to describe the sky to somebody.
Oh, it's easy. It's full of gases, which are made up of really small particles.
I'm talking. Daddy's talking right now. Hey, no. I'm talking right now. Talking right now. Sorry, I'm in my son's room. It's nap time, so you got to give me some grace here. He wanted to show me a funny thing in his movie. So. Continue.
So what I'm saying is they had the language to describe the sky as full of small particles rather than a hard dome. They could have done it. They didn't do it.
What was the word then? What was the word that they could use?
I think anan is the word for clouds in Hebrew.
So you could say that the sky is clouds, but they would see that there's objects in the sky that aren't clouds.
They could just say small particles. They had words for small and for things. The word for thing is typically dabar, the same word for speak, but they could say that the sky is made up of really tiny things. It's not hard.
Okay.
Like they had vocabulary to describe the sky. If God was
I know they had a fully organized language. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to communicate, and they communicated with each other just fine. But I'm thinking, if I'm Moses and I'm shown visions of heavenly things,
who said anything
I'm
about
going to have to describe these things to people. Well, he was with God on the mountain. I mean, the 75 elders ate lunch or dinner with him.
Exodus 24
on the mountain.
That's one of my favorite contradictions. Yeah. I know, but you're not actually answering the question.
I will be in this conversation for quite a while. Please don't interrupt.
The vision is irrelevant. We're talking about if you said God dictated Moses what to write, then he should have just wrote what God dictated to him. He did it for all the laws. In Leviticus 25, he theoretically writes word for word what God tells him to write.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't he do it when he came to the firmament?
God often uses poetic language to describe things, and I understand that like hard firmament, solid dome is not isn't very poetic. I guess what I'm saying is there's ways that you can describe things where you communicate the truth, but in ways that people can understand it. I mean,
But we
if
already
you
went
look
over
up in the
this.
sky,
They can understand that the sky is made up of small particles and clouds. They understand that. It's not hard.
are we clear on that though? Are we sure about that?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was about 4,000 years ago.
Yeah.
All this is going down on a mountain somewhere.
Yeah, they've got
So,
words
I
for
mean,
that.
okay. Well, I don't know why. And I don't have a problem with that, if you were about to ask.
I never said you did have a problem with it. I have a problem with it. Now, it's also true that the Bible like says a bunch of other like really dumb stuff about
Your opinion, not mine.
No, I'll demonstrate it. So there's a bunch of stuff that the Bible says that's like just not factually true. Like it says that rabbits and rock badgers chew cud, and that like theoretically all women should bleed the first time they have sex.
Well, there is a seal that's broken. I'm sure you know that. You're a father.
Oh, that's
But
not true.
I don't know if it's. Yeah, it is.
Nope, no, it's not.
Okay.
Only about 43% of women bleed their first time, according to statistics.
Yes, but there is a barrier, a physical barrier.
Not always.
Down there.
Nope.
Not always. There isn't.
Not always.
Okay, not always. So usually there is.
Yep, there's sometimes.
We can agree on
that. Quite often is, and only less than half of them would actually bleed the first time.
I guess I could have. I guess I would agree with that. I think that was mainly just like a tradition, and I don't know. It's a weird tradition to me. I don't know why you would do this, but there was like a crowd usually, like to make sure that the marriage was consummated. It just seems very odd to me.
So you already know the tradition from Deuteronomy 22.
Well, yeah, it just seems kind of odd to me that you'd have a crowd waiting to see if the marriage was consummated. It just seems kind of weird.
It is a wild tradition. So you know in Deuteronomy 22, if the woman doesn't bleed on her wedding night and there's no blood on that sheet, the guy can have her stoned.
It was implied that she was not a virgin before her wedding night.
Yeah, no one cares about the crime. We're talking about the proof. The proof or the evidence is the sheet.
Well, I mean, I would say that God has the right, as the one who created us all. I know you don't believe that, but I do. So there's a disagreement there.
Has the right to kill innocent women?
I believe that God has the right. I believe that innocence is not implied in that text, but I would say
he has the right to kill women for a crime they didn't commit.
Well, there's an accusation of a crime, and it's investigated, and it's usually validated by 2 or 3 witnesses. She's not just stoned outright. There's a process of investigating.
Nope. The witnesses were on the outside of the tent verifying that the sheet wasn't faked.
And 2 of those witnesses would be her mother and father and members of her family. And I think they would have something to say about their daughter being stoned to death.
Typically, they're family members, but the witnesses has nothing to do with her innocence. The witnesses are just there to verify that she's not cheating on the sheet test, Jacob. The sheet test is the problem, because if there's no blood on that sheet and it's a legitimate sheet, it wasn't faked. If there's no blood on that sheet, then she can get stoned. That's the problem.
I think that her family would have something to say about that.
Like what?
And I think that it probably wouldn't go down just like that.
Like what?
I think
What
it
would
would
they
go
say?
down a little bit different. Well, because we have a God who's just and holy and righteous.
What would the family
and
say,
we
Jacob?
were created. I think they could testify for her purity.
How?
I think that they could vouch and testify about her purity.
How do you vouch that someone's never done something? Did you spend every moment with that person?
Well, they would have been, yes, intimately connected in
No,
ways that
that's
our families today are
it's
not
completely
so
false.
intimately connected.
I have 4 sisters. I have literally no knowledge of when any of them lost their virginity. Zero. You can't follow your family members around and be with them every moment of their life. Eventually, they're going to be out of your sight, which means you can't witness what somebody doesn't do. You can only be a witness for what they
Yes, but you
do
can.
do.
Would you be able to attest of your sister's character before they were married
Attest,
to their prospective spouse or
attesting
parent?
character has nothing to do with evidence.
Yes, it's totally evidence. It's
No, it's
your
not.
experience of how your sisters acted and carried themselves throughout the
That's not
entirety of your
evidence.
relationship with them.
That's not evidence.
Why is it admissible in a court of law?
It's not admissible. It's in you cannot
Witness testimony?
no.
Witness testimony is not admissible in the court of law. Okay.
Character witness has nothing to do. It's never going to change the evidence.
Okay. But it testifies about the people who the evidence has to point somewhere. Okay.
I know, and the bloody sheet is the only evidence mentioned.
It's not, because there's witnesses.
You think the woman's family is going to come up and be like, "Oh yeah, she's guilty, kill her"? Of course not. Of course the family.
The father has to go into
Of course the family.
The father has to go
Of
into
course
the
the family
room
is
behind
going
the
to
sheet
say
and
that
grab
she's
it.
innocent, dummy. That's why character testimony isn't evidence. That's why you need the sheet.
But the father has to go grab the sheet.
I know.
That's not a dumb thing to say.
I know,
So
Jacob.
they're
Follow
in the
along.
room where the thing happens.
Jacob, follow
They
along.
are a witness.
The question
I
is the fucking
understand. The
sheet,
sheet comes
Jacob.
back clean. There's no blood on it.
So
How do they're going to stone her to death?
just pay fucking attention for 5 seconds, Jacob. You're literally on a completely different topic right now. Pay attention. If she does not bleed on that sheet, that is the only evidence that's attesting to her innocence or her guilt in the passage. Do you agree?
No.
Then go to Deuteronomy 22, find me other evidence.
The relationship.
Show me in the passage, Jacob.
Her relationship
Show
with
me in
her
the passage,
spouse.
Jacob.
The relationship
Show me
of
in the
the families.
passage. Show me in the passage.
In
Show me
Jewish cultures,
in the
there was over a
passage,
year
Jacob.
during the betrothal. No, I'm not going to agree to your category. Your framing is false.
No,
there
it's
is
not.
a
You're
context
false.
that goes beyond that passage.
You're wrong.
And you're trying to constrain my answer to fit your frame. If you want to hear what I'm going to answer, then you need to let me answer. What I'm saying is the relationship before that room was going on for over a year.
So what?
And the parents were deeply involved in it. It was called the betrothal period. And it happened before the formal marriage and the consummation of that marriage. All of that is brought into account when that night shows
literally,
up.
None of that
all
is
of that has been
true.
happening before
Literally, none
that
of that's
night. Yes,
true.
it is. It's
No,
Jewish
it's not.
culture.
No, it's not.
You know that it's true.
No, you know that you're
that it's true
lying.
because you studied it.
No,
No,
you
I'm
know
not.
that you're lying.
I'm not lying.
Abraham
How?
didn't have one.
What
Isaac didn't
evidence
have
do you have
one.
to prove that I'm lying?
Jacob didn't have one. Literally the same day that Rebecca was brought home, Isaac slept with her. The same day.
Yes, but that tradition hadn't been set up until after the giving of the law on Mount Sinai.
There's no law that addresses this. There's no year of betrothal. The only thing you get in the law
then why
is
are you saying that she would be stoned to death if the sheet came back pale? There's no law that addresses it?
Because no, I'm not talking about.
If there's no law that addresses it, then that's a nonsense statement. We shouldn't be talking about.
I'm not talking about a law establishing a betrothal period. I'm talking about a law stating that if a woman doesn't bleed, it's evidence that she's not a virgin. So follow along for 5 seconds. If she doesn't bleed on that sheet, is that good or bad evidence of her virginity?
In that culture, it would have been considered bad evidence.
Oh, okay. It is bad evidence. Okay, so the blood on the sheet's not good evidence, is it?
No.
Then how come God tells you to use it as evidence? How come he says you can stone a woman if she doesn't bleed on a sheet?
Because I think I think God has created a community of people that surround these two young people and model for them ethical, moral, biblically moral lifestyle, honoring God and obeying him. and that if this sheet comes back, they're going to draw on that community to make a determination about purity in this case, and that they will judge justly with God's guidance.
So you have to
I don't
kill
think-
innocent women to set a standard.
No.
Yes, you would, because
You
the
have to honor a
evidence
standard
because the
despite
evidence because the
despite
evidence is bad,
human
Jacob.
preference.
Pay attention. The evidence that God tells you to use is not good evidence, which means roughly half of the women that would have been executed at best would have been actually innocent, because only half of them bleed their first time. So if you're allowed to execute a woman because she doesn't bleed on a sheet, that means you're executing innocent women.
I think when you're dealing with an eternal God,
He can't help
you
himself.
have to think about what?
You
I
can't
help
stay on
myself
topic.
what?
You can't stay on topic. Do you agree or
I mean,
disagree that
are you
according
gonna
to
mute
the
me
law,
now?
the way it's laid out, that innocent women would have been stoned according to the way the law is laid out?
I cannot agree with that because I believe God to be
Okay.
totally just.
We're not talking about God. We're talking about the law. So I'll just read it to you since you haven't actually
Yeah,
read
and
through
God
it.
created the law,
So
and
it says,
I think
suppose a man marries a woman, but after
direct or lead the people.
Suppose a man marries a woman, but after going into her, dislikes her and makes up charges against her, slandering her by saying, I married this woman, but when I lay with her, I did not find evidence of her virginity. The father of the young woman and her mother shall then submit the evidence of the young woman's virginity to the elders of the city at the gate. The father of the young woman shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter in marriage to this man, but he dislikes her. And now he's made up charges against her, saying, I did not find evidence of your daughter's virginity. Okay, so far, where we've got in the passage is he's taken her to court because he didn't find the evidence, right? Okay, and he's allowed to do that, isn't he?
Then this is a deliberation period that wasn't mentioned to me.
I didn't ask for an explanation. I asked for a yes or no, Jacob. Pay attention. So in the passage, no one can hear you while you're muted. You can crash out all you want, but I'm going to make you stay on a linear conversation, whether it kills you or not. So you're going to stay on a linear path, or well, that's it. You don't have another choice. That's what's going to happen. So in the passage so far, the man didn't find evidence of the blood. She didn't bleed, so he takes her to court, right?
Okay. I don't have to answer that.
You do.
No, I don't.
Well, then I'll just remove.
Then
I'll just move on to somebody who will actually have an honest dialogue. Since you're too cowardly, you have no power of the Holy Spirit. The minute you get confronted with a question you don't like, your little pee-pee does a turtle right back into its shell. You can't handle it. You know, your little anus puckers up and you just clench rather than answering honestly because you don't have any power of the Holy Spirit. Jacob, you know you're muted right now. Your screen tells you you're muted. I don't know why you keep talking while you're muted. It's on the top of your screen. It says you're muted. I don't know what to tell you. It's okay if your equipment doesn't work. So Jacob, what's going to happen here is we're going to walk down linear lane. We're going to read the passage. We're going to talk about what the passage says, whether you like it or not. And I'm not going to let you divert.
Can people hear me?
I'm not going to let you divert to other topics. I'm not going to let you divert to nonsense talking points that are unrelated. We're going to read the passage and talk about the words that are in that passage. Can you follow that?
Am I speaking right now? Can people hear me?
We can hear you. I asked you a question that's quite obvious. I want you to answer.
We can talk about the passage.
Okay. Now, in the passage, it says that he goes into his wife and he says there's no evidence of the virginity. We know what that means. It means she didn't bleed. And then the next thing he does is accuses her formally in court. Follow?
And there's an investigation, like I said before, you said that I was wrong about
Jacob,
saying
we're not even that far. Use your Holy Spirit patience and try to follow along. So in the passage, the guy says, I did not find evidence. I did not find evidence of your virginity. And then what does he do?
He makes an accusation.
Exactly. And then what happens?
Then the father goes to provide proof of the evidence to the elders.
Okay. And what's the evidence that God tells them to provide?
I don't know. I'm not looking at the passage right now. I'm talking to you.
It's a sheet. He says, then they will spread out the cloth before the elders of the town. It's a sheet. It's the bloody sheet. So the evidence of her innocence or guilt is the bloody sheet. Do we agree thus far?
I think that is a piece of evidence, yes.
It doesn't say any other evidence. It mentions only the sheet. It says you will go to court, you will spread out the sheet. If in fact the man was lying and there's blood on the sheet, then he has to pay a fine and he can never divorce her. If it turns out that he's right and there's no blood,
never divorce. You can never divorce her. That's a key thing.
That's what it says. Just keep paying attention. Now, the end of it says if it turns out that that she's guilty, right? The charge against her that she's not a virgin is true. It says if, however, the charge is true, that evidence of the young woman's virginity was not found, then they will bring the young woman out to the entrance of her father's house, and the men of her town will stone her to death. The only evidence ever given by the Bible is, in fact, the bloody sheet. That's it.
Can we agree that there are things that happened, maybe even in that scenario, that weren't written in the Bible?
It certainly could be, but you don't know what they are. All you have is wishful thinking. Okay. We do have the tradition from the actual rabbis that indicate that we do have writings from the actual rabbis, Jacob, that indicate what kind of things they would have been doing. What we don't have, you know what we don't have? We don't have a single source that says you can let somebody off capital punishment because somebody vouched for their character. That's not a thing that happens.
I said that would be considered in the deliberation.
It would not.
Of the elders. Now it's not. Okay.
It's capital punishment.
We can disagree on that.
It's capital punishment. You're either guilty of the crime and getting capital punishment, or you're not.
Why bring it before the elders then?
Because he
if it's so
wants
black and white,
her to be stoned. Because even in ancient Israel, you couldn't just accuse somebody and then get the justice you wanted. You had to prove that your accusation was true. And the proof that this guy's accusation is true is, in fact, the bloody sheet. But it turns out that the bloody sheet's not good evidence. There shouldn't be a law in the Bible stoning women for not being virgins, because there's, in fact, no actual way to know if you married a virgin. It's not even possible.
I'm not going to try to argue whether or not it is possible to know that, because I don't know.
It's
but
not.
One thing I will say is I think that her parents, well, I mean, fine, I'll take your word for it. But what I am saying is, like, what we see in that passage, though, is we see both sets of parents. We see the elders of the city. We see the man and the woman, and there's a deliberation that happens. And her parents would have to agree with the evidence of her guilt in order for her to be stoned right outside in front of their house. I know it doesn't say that in the passage.
They would not.
I think they would.
Nope.
I think they would.
In fact, Deuteronomy explicitly tells you that if you disagree with the ruling of the priests and the elders, that you'll actually get punished yourself. Doesn't matter if the family agrees with the punishment. The fact of the matter is the punishment isn't decided by the family. It's decided by the elders.
The elders, who are members of the same community and have probably known these kids since they were little anyways.
I said elders, not parents.
That's what I'm trying to say. I know, but I'm saying there's context for this entire thing.
I know. I know the context. I studied it, Jacob.
Okay, well, you're not bringing any of it to bear on what we're talking about. You're saying God, unfeeling God, evil, unjust. Huh?
Because none of it's relevant.
Yes, it is.
It's not relevant, Jacob. Give me one piece of evidence that they could bring outside of the sheet. One piece.
Again, I don't have it open in front of me right now, but if you give me a few minutes, I can go grab my Bible.
Take your time. Whatever you think is going to help your cause, go get it.
Okay. Can you wait for a moment?
I got time. I'm here all night.
All right.
When you don't like what it says, just add your own stuff to it. I don't like what the Bible says. I'm just going to add my own take to it. It's crazy. It's crazy how many lies you have to tell yourself to stay in this religion. Well, let's grab a couple of super chats. Oh, we got a super chat in here from 55445. Says, funny how the early U.S. adopted the slogan, "Don't tread on me," with snake imagery when the dominant religion at the time had said to stop on. That's actually pretty good. I do like that. Welcome back,
All right,
Jacob.
so I don't have. Thank you. I don't have my everyday Bible, but I've got the one that I was given on my wedding day by my pastor as a wedding gift. So he called it. He said, "I wanted to congratulate you with a family Bible." So I was like, "Thank you." So what passage are we discussing here?
Deuteronomy 22.
Deuteronomy 21, 22. All right. And what verse are we talking about? 13, right? You're talking about 13?
Mm-hmm.
All right. If any man takes a wife and goes into her and then hates her and accuses her of misconduct and brings a bad name upon her, saying, "I took this woman, and when I came near her, I did not find her in her evidence of virginity," then the father of the young woman and her mother shall take and bring out the evidence of her virginity to the elders of the city. So they're bringing out evidence of virginity, like you said, in the gate. And the father of the young woman shall say to the elders, "I gave my daughter to this man to marry. He hates her." So we've read all this. I'm trying to read it forward. "And the elders of that city shall take the man and whip." Okay, here it says, "I did not find in your daughter evidence of virginity, and yet this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloak before the elders of the city. Then the elders of that city shall take and whip him, and they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver, and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought a bad name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife, and he may not divorce her all his days. But if the thing is true, that evidence of virginity was not found in the young woman, then they shall bring out the young woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has done an outrageous thing in Israel by whoring in her father's house. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. If a man is found lying with the wife of another man, both of them shall die. If
Well,
a
that's
man
a
who lay with
different
the woman,
section.
well, no, but so God is setting Israel apart as a people for his treasured possession.
Yeah,
and so
we're aware of
these
this.
laws,
We know how laws work.
but I don't think all of the viewers are aware. God is trying to make them pure.
They know the Bible better than you do. I can promise you that. So, Jacob, the question isn't why God gave the command. The question is whether or not the command should even exist, because the only evidence that's ever presented in the passage about stoning the woman is whether or not she bled on that sheet, right?
Yes, but it's implied that the community would know her character. Yeah.
Knowing a person's character is irrelevant. You can't know whether or not somebody
you can't separate laws from relationships.
Something.
Laws govern relationships.
You literally
can't separate laws from relationships. No,
wrong.
you can't.
Completely wrong. You can't.
My relationship to the
prove
U.S. government is as long as I obey their laws, I get to enjoy the privileges of citizenship. That's why laws exist.
Prove somebody.
It's a relationship between me and the U.S. government.
Jacob, you can't prove somebody innocent by saying I had a relationship with them, and I don't think they would do it.
Okay, well then I will leave you.
Wait, no, I want you to stay here. I want to be with Mom.
Well, go be with Mom, buddy. I'm trying to have a conversation. Stop interrupting.
You can't overrule evidence with "I don't think my daughter would do that." That's not how that works.
I know, but you can use other context as evidence.
The context
She's situated inside of a community of people who knew her character. That matters.
The context is not evidence. Knowing her parents doesn't make her innocent.
That's true.
If that mattered, he wouldn't have brought her up on charges.
What I'm trying to say is that the people that are dealing with this case are the people who are closest to it and have the most to lose based on its outcome. That matters. And what I'm saying is
it matters because the only evidence is the sheet.
Are going to affect the outcome, can affect the outcome of the deliberation.
No, they will not.
Okay.
You're lying.
Okay.
You cannot vouch for somebody in a capital punishment case. You can't say, well, I don't think they would do it. That's not how that works. That's why God didn't say, go find character witnesses, go find somebody that will vouch for. He didn't say any of that. He said, lay out the sheet. See, you don't like what the Bible actually says, so you have to add to it.
No, I actually do, because it
don't.
says if the man is found to be lying, the man will be beaten.
And what happens to the
And
woman?
if the woman is found to be lying, well, she gets stoned.
Based on what
to death
evidence?
in front of her fellow man. Based on the evidence that God has decided is evidence.
Which is what? What's he list?
The sheet.
Which is bad evidence. You already agreed, which means God is willing to execute young women for not being virgins because they didn't bleed on a sheet, which means the God that you believe in not only is barbaric, but he's literally also doesn't understand.
Your
He literally
doesn't
also doesn't
case.
understand biology, Jacob.
Your judgment doesn't really matter
No,
in this
your
case
judgment
if we
too.
believe that God is the judge.
Your judgment too, because you agree
I
with
believe that
me
God is
that
the
innocent
judge.
people shouldn't be killed, don't you?
And I believe that a holy, just God would
Do
not
you
kill innocent
believe
people
that
or require
innocent
them
people
to be.
should or shouldn't be killed?
They shouldn't.
Okay, well, God disagrees. Either he disagrees with you or he
That's
doesn't
not
know
true.
how biology works, because he's willing to execute half of the women brought up on charges in Deuteronomy 22.
I mean, we can sit here. We can sit here and we can cherry pick verses all day long and try to say,
I
"Oh, well,
can.
God,
I've got
God's
hundreds
a
of
barbaric,
them.
evil."
Want to see more?
I know you do. No, I'm trying to make a case now because you've made your point. God's a
Right. Yeah, you're tired
barbaric,
of getting
evil,
cooked. I know.
unjust person. Why should you? Huh?
I said, I know. You want to
I'm
make
being
a
cooked.
you want to make a case. You're tired of getting cooked. Yeah.
How am I being cooked?
Literally, everyone knows you're well done at this
How?
point. Put a
Really? I'm well done.
put a 1 in the comments if
God,
Jacob is already cooked well done at this point.
Well, good thing for me. I don't care about the opinions of people. Rather, I care about the judgments of God.
That's a
And if
lot
he's
of ones.
perfectly just, then not a single innocent person has come to any kind of horrible end
Well, you're wrong about that.
didn't deserve what came to them.
Nope. Want to see more?
I don't believe that a woman who doesn't have blood on her sheet or who is being brought before the tribunal is going to be found guilty unless God decides that she be found guilty. Now, the
how
sheet
could you
isn't the
possibly say
only
that?
piece of evidence, but it's a piece of
Then
evidence
give
in the
me
verse.
another
I
piece of
asked you.
evidence
I
other than
said,
trust me, bro.
It's not just trust me, bro.
It
Trust her
is.
community, bro. Her father and her mother have more to lose in
No,
this scenario than you do,
wrong.
than you or I do.
Then
Yes,
they
they
would
do.
have
They
made
have way
sure.
more to
Then
lose
they
in
would
this
have made
scenario
sure she
than you
bled
or
on
I
that
do.
sheet, Jacob.
They could lose their daughter. I think they have way more invested in this scenario than you or I
Their
do. And
investment
passing
is
judgment
irrelevant.
upon.
You cannot have your parents fucking vouch for you in a capital punishment case. Your parents are never going to
They're
show
the
up.
ones who present the evidence.
Jacob, pay fucking attention.
How are they not in some
Pay
way
attention,
involved?
Jacob. Jacob, pay attention.
What?
Your parents.
I am. It's a capital punishment case.
You can't pay attention because you keep talking. Your parents are never going to show up at your capital punishment case and say, yeah, fucking stone them. They're never going to do it. They're your parents. Would you ever show up at your child's capital punishment case and say stone them? Would you do it, Jacob?
No.
Okay. And why not?
The parents.
And why not?
The parents
Why not?
don't.
Jacob,
in this case,
Jacob,
either.
stop talking. I'm going to mute you if you don't stop talking. I'm asking you easy questions. I'm asking you easy questions. I just need you to answer them and stop being a coward. Why wouldn't you?
No, you want to mute me when I.
No, I want to mute you because you don't have any respect for the platform you're on, and you think it's okay for you to talk over me, even though you don't want me to talk over you. But you're in the wrong place because I have the mute buttons. I can talk over you all I want. Now, this conversation didn't have to go sideways. I talked to lots of people before you, and the conversation didn't go sideways. This conversation is going sideways because you can't have a conversation, not me. So if you want to have a real conversation, you don't talk over me. I won't talk over you. I'm talking over you because you're talking over me. The minute you stop talking over me, I won't have to talk over you. You get to decide how this conversation goes. Now, I ask you an easy question. If your child was brought up on capital charges, would you do everything in your ability to defend their innocence, even if you didn't have any evidence of it?
Yes, like these parents would.
Of course you would. And why would a parent do that?
Well, it's a lot of different reasons, mainly because I love my son and I would like to hope better things for him. And I'm going to try and investigate as much as I can to find the evidence of his innocence because I believe it to be there and trust that my son was obedient to me and to the standard which he was raised to.
Right. So your child's innocence in your mind is a trust me, bro.
I mean, I think laws are based on relationships, and there's no way that you can prove that it's not.
They're quite literally not based on relationships. They're based on evidence. That's why all capital punishment charges are based on the weight of the evidence, not based on the weight of personal character testimony.
It says God doesn't judge the outward actions of a person, but he judges the hidden character of the heart. And so him being a perfect and just judge, I'm fairly confident he would not allow innocent people to be stoned to death on their mother and father's porch. And so I believe that if the evidence points to where God says it points, and God is completely just, then the people that had that happen to them had probably not been faithful in more than just one way.
So then,
And that's all. I trust myself to the judgment of God.
So then you're not accepting what the passage says. The passage doesn't say that God is judging.
No, I am.
The passage says that you take the bloody sheet or the not bloody sheet to the council, and the council will examine that piece of evidence. That's what it says. If there was another method, if there was another procedure that they should have been following, God should have mentioned it, but he didn't mention it. He only mentions the bloody sheet. God delegated to his priests, to his judges, how to handle the case.
And what I'm saying is, I asked you earlier on in the conversation, are possibly other things that weren't written in this passage that happened that aren't mentioned? And you said yes. And I'm thinking that this is describing two specific scenarios. Is this the entirety of the set of scenarios that you're likely to encounter when dealing with this part of law?
What I'm saying is that
Are these the only two?
What I'm saying is that what you're imagining is happening isn't happening because it doesn't make sense. It's not even relevant to what's happening, right? The fact that the parents are going to defend their daughter's innocent is completely irrelevant. That's going to happen no matter what the charge is. Your child will never be brought up on capital punishment charges, and you're not going to defend them because that's how parents are. So the fact of the matter is, when this young woman is brought up on capital punishment charges for not bleeding, it doesn't matter what the parents say. It doesn't matter how much they love their daughter. None of that matters. What matters is the actual evidence. And the only evidence that God ever mentions is, in fact, the sheet.
So God's love for them doesn't matter at all?
No.
Like God's love for the people in the scenario doesn't matter at all?
No. Because God wants them.
I would say that it does.
God wants them dead, Jacob. He said, you must purge the evil from among you.
And why would he want that?
Because he wants the evil to be purged from among them. He's more concerned with purging evil than with their lives.
No, he's more concerned about preserving the purity of his people as a set-apart people, as distinct from the nations around them, to vindicate his glory and his righteousness.
Right, which is what
otherwise he couldn't judge the nations.
Which is what
otherwise he couldn't judge the nations, right?
Jacob, I said this already. You don't have to kill innocent women to make a nation holy.
I don't think that he killed innocent women.
He instructed them to.
And I believe that when you try to separate laws and cultural things from the context that they're in, and try to look only at like specific isolated cases, we miss a lot. And I don't think God is so callous and uncaring. No, I'm not saying that you are. What I'm saying is there's an entire context that we're not bringing into this deliberation. Her father, like you said, what parent would want to present capital evidence against their child? None. But these parents are doing it because God dictates it. I think he does it that way because he knows that they have to, but I think God does it that way because the parents are going to be the most staunch defenders of her purity and innocence. And so if evidence, like the sheet, but I don't think that's the only evidence. It's the only evidence
Then
mentioned
pick
in this
Pick
passage.
one real piece of evidence they could have brought. Character testimony is not evidence. It has never been evidence. It will never be evidence. Character testimony is only relevant when you're sentencing somebody to prison and you need to determine if you think that person is able to be rehabilitated. Capital punishment doesn't rehabilitate anyone. Character testimony isn't relevant in capital punishment cases.
Well, well, there's also punishment against the man if his accusation is false.
So what? I don't
It's
care
a great
about that.
financial loss to him.
Don't
and,
care.
and a beating.
Not relevant. Don't care.
It is relevant because it's part of the case.
No, it's not relevant. We're
The
talking
woman
about
woman's not the only person who gets punished if there's misconduct. The man is also punished.
Jacob, pay attention. We're talking about whether or not the sheet is good evidence because it's the only evidence mentioned. Now you're saying there must be a better piece of evidence that somehow nullifies the bad evidence. I'm still waiting for the good piece of evidence that nullifies the bad evidence.
You know who I'm talking to. I've told you about this before. My family is getting restless. I'm probably going to have to, yeah. I read that passage, and I read the Old Testament, and I see a lot in it that it's about God establishing his people as separate from the nations.
Jacob, we know the story. We've all read it. No one cares about that. What we're trying to figure out is if this case law is justified. This one
You're trying to decide if it's just.
law, is this particular law a just law? And everyone here can see that it's not just because whoever wrote it was under the impression that all virgins bleed the first time they do the deed, and they don't.
I've already said that I think that God is just and wouldn't allow innocent people to die.
How would he prevent it?
I mean, that's up to him. I don't know.
So how do you know he would prevent
this
it?
Passage.
Why would he
know that there is
why would he give them
Testament,
commandments?
though,
why would he give them commandments
covenant
to do the thing if he didn't want them to do it?
I didn't say he didn't want them to do it. I just said I don't think he would allow innocent people to be stoned to death.
How? How could he prevent it? He told them to do the thing.
He's the God of the universe. He kind of created everything.
So how is he
could
going to
prevent
fix
it if he wanted?
What's he going to do?
He's already fixed it by his perfect justice.
No. I'm talking
He's
about
perfectly holy.
We're not talking about
perfectly just.
We're not talking about your euphemisms for God. We're talking about what method. How is he functionally going to save this woman? What's he going to do?
Okay, so I'm going to say this, and there is a spirit, right, inside of a person. Do you believe that?
No.
Do you believe a person has a spirit? Okay, well then we're already starting at opposites. So I believe that people do have a spirit. It's their personhood. The body that they live in right now is just a container for the eternal state where they will get an eternal body. And I believe that if anybody is killed unjustly, then they will be vindicated by him after death in his judgment as a determination of heaven or hell. I believe that. And so if this woman is killed in the physical body unjustly, because there was, like you said, or like I guess we kind of agreed, the bad evidence, then there's an eternal reward for that woman in being with God for eternity. And it says to be separate from the body is to be present with the Lord. I feel that even if she was killed unjustly on earth because of a human error in interpreting God's judgments and his laws, then I believe that she's going to have an eternal place with God. And that's ultimately what the Jewish people want, is to be with God forever. And if she was killed unjustly, she's with God. If she was killed justly, then she's going someplace else.
Cool. So
but I believe that God's judgment in this is perfect.
Her innocent execution is meaningless then. It doesn't matter if she gets executed innocently.
No, I'm saying it means more because she has a spirit that goes somewhere after that, after her body is killed.
Okay,
and if that spirit has been, if her body has been unjustly killed,
does justice matter, Jacob?
Because it matters, because I'm concerned about an eternal perspective that sees past just the physical realities, which you seem to be preoccupied with.
Does justice matter on the earth, Jacob?
It matters eternally.
Nope. I said on the earth. Does justice matter here on the earth?
Only so far as the communities that are executing it feel it matters.
So does it objectively matter?
And yes, and my objective standard is God's own decree that he is perfectly just. And I said, if the woman was killed on earth, because we have fallible, broken, and imperfect people misinterpreting God's laws all the time, they're doing it even right now today, I believe that if she was killed unjustly, and if she is in fact innocent, but she was killed based on a misinterpretation of God's law or a correct interpretation, but a misunderstanding of the evidence, then I believe that God will take her to himself and she will be with him for all of eternity, because I believe that human beings have a spirit.
So just so we're clear, you're saying it's okay for God to give them laws that result in innocent people being killed because they get to go to heaven?
No, I'm saying God is perfectly just. And I'm trying to give us an eternal perspective for what that justice looks like. There are imperfect rulings, right? You would say that people on earth can give rulings based on the law, but maybe the law that was written down didn't encapsulate all of the possibilities, but it just gave like a narrow set. And let's say of that narrow set, there might have been people who were technically guilty of breaking it, but not intentionally culpable. And I would say that God, who measures the heart, is going to judge the heart. And if that person is unjustly executed on earth, will make a determination based on their heart about whether or not they spend eternity with him in heaven.
Okay, so when
And I
does
think
an
that if a
innocent
young
woman get justice for being executed?
I would say I believe in God's perfect justice, and I believe that it includes a spiritual component, which you disagree. But I'm going to have to say I disagree with you on this point. I think there is a spiritual component.
Jacob, when?
And
I
I
asked
think
when. When does the innocent woman who's killed get justice?
I would say after, in the case that I'm representing, probably after her physical death, but her spirit will live with God forever.
Okay, so it's exactly what I said. It's okay to execute innocent women because they will get justice.
I never said it was okay. I just said that it happens.
You're justifying it by saying that they're going to get justice in the afterlife. So what you're saying then, it doesn't matter that innocent women get killed here because they'll get their justice in the next life. That's what you said.
But by what moral component, like where do your morals come from that would give you the reason to be outraged at the outcome?
Huge pivot. Not even going to entertain that pivot. We're still talking about Deuteronomy 22. So in Deuteronomy 22, you and I both agree.
You're calling things just.
Hold on, Jacob.
I'm just saying, by what standard do you do
Because just has a definition. I don't need a standard. The word just has a definition. All I need is a definition of the word just. So the word just means that you get what you actually deserve. And what you actually deserve is never punished for a crime you didn't commit. You should never be punished for a crime you didn't commit and then call that justice. There's not a definition of justice in any possible world that includes innocent people suffering for crimes that they did not commit. So we can agree that my moral standard's irrelevant. We're talking about the definition of words. So the fact that...
But I'm trying to convince you, so your moral standard is kind of relevant if I'm trying to convince you.
No, my moral standard's not relevant. I'm talking about the definition of justice. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about if I think God is immoral. I'm not talking about if I think God is barbaric. I'm saying based on the definition of the word justice, what God is doing in Deuteronomy 22 is not just. It's injustice.
Okay. So you're saying that examples like these are reasons why you don't believe in God?
No, there's a million reasons other than this that I don't believe in God. This is one of thousands. There's so many reasons not to believe in your God. I think the most compelling reason not to believe in your God is, first of all, the Old Testament is horrific. But second of all, Jesus didn't fulfill a single prophecy, not even one fucking prophecy. Yet the Bible props him up like he was the Messiah predicted in the Old Testament.
Yeah, but you would probably attribute all of the prophecies that were given about Jesus to the people of Israel and say how the people of Israel had already fulfilled them.
Nope.
Wouldn't you?
I would give them the actual original context, the thing you love so much, and I would explain to you how they're actually not talking about some future guy named Jesus. Almost all the prophecies are just out of context quotations. Shit, half of the prophecies in the Gospels about Jesus aren't even prophecies. They're just random quotations from the Psalms.
Not all of them, and think there's a prophecy
I said half.
specifically in Isaiah that talks about a suffering servant.
That's
And
Israel.
out of Egypt I called my son.
That's not a prophecy.
He will be called Wonderful Counselor.
Out of Egypt is not a prophecy.
What is it?
It's a history of the Exodus.
A retelling?
Hosea 11, verse 1 and 2 is a retelling of the Exodus. Have you read the whole thing?
Well, I mean, I believe that
so you haven't read the whole thing.
That were. What are you talking about? Read the whole Bible?
Hosea 1 and 2, when Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. That's the Exodus. It's not a prophecy. It's in the past tense. It's history.
Right, and so he's retelling, right?
The Exodus.
But I believe that some of the in the Bible have prophetic significance in predicting future events. Hello? I can't hear you. I think you said hold on. Wait.
Sorry about that. I had to switch earbuds.
Yeah, I've had several interruptions. Thank you for kids. You know, they don't have a script.
No, it's okay. I've got kids too. I understand. So the fact of the matter is, Hosea 11 verses 1 and 2 is not a prophecy; it's history. So Jesus couldn't fulfill anything in that.
I know, but would you not agree, though, that some historical stories have prophetic significance in predicting future events?
No.
Like if you don't learn from your past, you're doomed to repeat it.
That's not how prophecies work.
I know.
That's just called learning from your mistakes.
That's like a modern colloquial. Right, that's a colloquial example, I guess, a truism. But I believe that there are certain stories like David in some of the Psalms when he's talking about his turmoil and dealing with the betrayal of his sons or the chaotic madness of a currently reigning king of Israel, where he says he utters things relating to his context, but can be attributed to Jesus.
Why?
As describing certain situations that he's gone through.
Why would I do? Why would I take the words of David and say, "Oh, this must be about a future individual"? Why would I do that?
No, but you can look at Jesus' life and see how events in Jesus' life parallel those.
So do mine. Events in my life parallels David's Psalms. So what?
Yes, and that's. I feel like that would be an encouragement.
Shit. So I'm the Messiah.
The Bible is true. Huh?
Am I the Messiah?
You were made in the image of God.
Am I the Messiah?
Whether you like it or not, me or you. No.
But some of the events in my life parallels David's Psalms.
Yes.
So I'm the Messiah.
I'm agreeing with that.
Oh shit. Okay, I'll take your tithes and worship.
I'm not going to worship you.
First rule in the cult of Justin is that there is wine at every meal and Kraken.
Is that a super chat?
I'll give you even more than a wafer. I'll give you a whole loaf of bread.
Sounds good. I guess what I'm saying is Isaiah 53. I think it's 53. Could be wrong, but it talks about the suffering servant.
That's the only one you guys have. I know.
It's not the only one, but it's the best one.
It's actually not the best one.
Do you have a better one?
Yeah, I think some of the better ones is like Jeremiah 33, where it actually mentions the Messiah. Ezekiel 36 and 37, where it actually mentions the Messiah. Isaiah chapter 11, where it literally mentions what the Messiah is going to do. Ezekiel chapter 45, where it mentions what the Messiah is going to do. These are like clear messianic passages about what the Messiah is going to do.
And do you think that Jesus changed anything? Like, what do you think? Do you think that Jesus changed anything when he came? And if so, what do you think he changed?
I don't think he changed anything. I think he was a liar and a fraud.
So you believe the liar narrative about Jesus?
No, I know he's a liar and a fraud.
How and why?
First of all, because he violated what God said in the Old Testament. God said not to
What?
add or to subtract from any of the laws of Moses, as Deuteronomy chapter 12 and chapter 4. He also, in fact, tried to change some of the laws of Moses in Matthew chapter 5, although he literally went out on a limb and said, also follow all the laws of Moses. It's also true that he claimed to be the Messiah, and he didn't actually do anything that the Messiah was supposed to do. He also said he was going to come back within the lifetime of his disciples, and he didn't do that either.
You're breaking up. Can you repeat what you just said? You got kind of like muddled a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said Jesus claimed to be the Messiah, yet he didn't do anything the Messiah was supposed to do. He said his second coming was going to happen before his disciples all passed away. That never happened. He's just a fraud.
So wait, the vision to John didn't happen before he passed away?
The vision to John has nothing to what he said in Matthew 16 and Matthew 24.
The vision of Revelation like depicts his second coming before
what?
John's death, and he was referencing John when
Oh
he
my
talked
gosh,
to Peter.
is John one
So-
person or two people?
Well, he's one person,
Does
but
the word-
he said, "What is it to you if he must stay alive until I come again?"
Does
Jesus
the word
visits
some
him again in
mean
the
one or
vision
more
of
than
Revelation.
one?
He was talking about John to
Does the
Peter,
word
and he says, "What is
some
it to you?" if he
mean
must-"
one or more than one?
It means more than one.
Okay.
But he didn't say
And
some. He was referencing John.
In Matthew 16, he says some. It says, for the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay everybody for what's been done. Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. That's the second coming with the clouds and the angels and the power, all that. That's the second coming. He says that it's going to happen before some of you standing here pass away. They all died. The only one left in your worldview, the only one left standing in John. And saying that it came true because John had a dream is an adorable way to fix this problem, but it's laughable.
It's not laughable. The revelation is a real vision,
It's
and
laughable.
he did see the resurrected Messiah.
It didn't say you'll see a
presenting the
vision.
vision to him.
He didn't say that you, John, will see a vision.
Jesus visited
He says
him
some of
in
you
an
standing
Jesus
here
visited him.
will see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Claiming that somebody later in a dream dreamed about it or in a vision had a vision about it isn't the same. If Jesus wanted to say that one of you will have a vision of me coming back before all of you pass away, he could have said that, but he didn't say that. So you have to change the meaning of words and add words to the book to make it fit.
Yes, I understand. Okay. Oh man, probably not the best time to have a conversation on the 4th of July.
I understand. It's a holiday.
Yeah, everybody's all restless, and my kids want to go to the splash park. So,
well, listen,
gotta make that happen.
It's already 5:45 where I'm at. It's probably late for you as well. Take them before the sun goes down and lose all your heat.
Yeah, but I want to land the plane and end the discussion. I do feel like it has been more reasonable in our conversation than I anticipated it would be. I'm really pleased with that. A reason why I was asking if you were open to having your mind change is because I was, wanting to have like a more free form discussion and talk about like specific, like different topics, which you do talk about different topics. And I was trying to just make sure that you weren't just doing this to like slam dunk on Christians and try to make them seem foolish. But I think that there is some of that, though.
But even if I did,
happens.
what's it matter to you? Even if all I wanted to do was dunk on Christians, you have no power to stop me because I have facts and you don't.
I actually do have facts,
Certainly don't.
but I feel like, and here we disagree again. Are you open to having your mind changed, or you just believe that no matter what evidence or facts or metaphysical realities are explained or presented, you're just not going to change your position?
Are you open to being wrong about Jesus?
I had to be open to being wrong, or else I wouldn't have chosen Jesus.
Right, but are you open about being wrong about Jesus, about Christianity not being true?
That's kind of, I know him.
Yeah,
personally.
That's adorable, but doesn't answer my question. Are you open to being wrong about Christian faith?
I would say yes and no. Like, I mean, I guess I'm open to hearing arguments, but I'm not inclined to believe those arguments. If that
Sure.
makes sense.
And I'm not inclined to believe any of the arguments you have for Christianity because I already know that none of them actually add up because I spent my life studying this business and it doesn't add up. Now, I'm open to the evidence, but I know you don't have any.
Can I just, if you could entreat me for a moment, just kind of you said you've got all these passages and you said that the main reasons you don't believe is because you believe Jesus to be a liar and he didn't fulfill a single prophecy. But people have made, like, I mean, I've heard several. I mean, what do you say about a guy like Lee Strobel? He investigated the claims of Christ, ends up becoming a Christian.
No,
What
he
do you say
didn't.
about Middle Eastern people?
Lee Strobel is a joke.
Lee Strobel?
I've read his book. He went around and asked conservative scholars softball questions and then claimed that he was doing a legitimate inquiry. He wasn't. What he should have done is gone to some actually academic scholars and some historians and some classicists and asked them the same questions, but he didn't do that. He's a joke. He's a hack.
Well, so do you believe that Jesus was a real person? He actually existed in history?
Yep, just like Muhammad, just like Joseph Smith.
Okay, and so, but you believe that he was lying about being the Messiah. But
I know he
why?
was.
Can I ask why?
Because I've read the
Well,
Old
why would
Testament
he?
and I know
Why
what it
would,
says about the Messiah, and I know he didn't do any of those things. And the stuff that he claims to have done, he didn't even do those. Like it's claimed in Matthew 21 that when he rode the double donkeys into Jerusalem, that was to fulfill what was spoken by Zechariah. But in the 9th chapter of Zechariah, it literally says that he's going to be a physical, actual king, and he's going to put down all the war horses and war chariots in and around Jerusalem. He didn't do any of that. This is a warring king in Zechariah that defeats all of Israel's enemies, which Jesus sure as hell didn't do.
he said he came humbly and mounted on a donkey's colt, the foal of a beast of burden.
Yeah, and then read the very next verse. Have you bothered to read verse 10? There's more than one verse in Zechariah 9.
Yeah. Go in there. Just give me a moment. I've got one hand. Zechariah, you said?
Yeah, Zechariah 9:9.
Zephaniah. Okay, here we go.
I mean, Zephaniah is kind of a laughable
Zechariah.
book too, but don't worry about that. Read verse 10.
Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Verse 10, I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim, and the war horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace to the nations. His rule shall be from sea to sea, and from river to the ends of the earth.
And this is a real
would you believe that
king?
Yeah, well, I believe that his kingdom is not of this world. This is when he's talking to
My kingdom is
Pontius
not of this
Pilate. He
world
says,
either.
"My kingdom is not of." Well, what he said is, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were so, my subjects would have kept me from being captured by you."
I know, but that's not what the prophet
And then
says.
he
The
asks,
prophet says his dominion will be from sea to sea. Those are physical, geographical markers.
what I'm saying is, yes, but I'm saying that his kingdom is currently acting through his people to do his will, and it's a kingdom that's been established in our hearts through faith.
And so is
Faith
mine.
is the key here.
Everyone put a 1 in the comments if the kingdom of Justin and Doug is living inside your hearts and that my kingdom is actually not of this world. See how easy it is to make unfalsifiable claims about mystical kingdoms far away?
It's not a mystical kingdom far away. It's a spiritual kingdom.
So is mine. Mine's a spiritual kingdom.
You've told me. So you believe in spirits now?
No, mine's a different spiritual kingdom. It's not the same as yours.
Well, I might agree with that. I fully agree with that.
A lot of ones in the comments. A lot of people feel Doug living in their hearts.
And I would love to have a conversation with each one of them about what it's like to have a relationship with Jesus. And I know you've studied this a long time. But I have a different experience than you do, obviously, and I have. I believe that the Bible is more relational than it is about like rules and regulations.
Is it true though?
I believe that God's justice is perfect.
Relationship has nothing to do with whether or not the book is factual.
I have a hard time believing that the Western civilization could be built off principles found in a book if they weren't true.
It wasn't built on principles from Christianity, unless you include slavery. It was definitely built on slavery, which is justified in the book.
Oh, so So individual liberty, but personal responsibility, each for the other, that doesn't come from the Bible?
Nope, it already existed in Greco-Roman culture, and shit, they already had it in like Eastern cultures too.
Except in those cultures, the kingdoms fell quickly. Well, not the Roman, not the
China?
Greco-Roman. I
China
guess
fell?
China, but China, it's their version of communism is
We're not talking about
more.
communism. We're talking about ancient history. You brought up ancient history. I'm saying the idea of individual responsibility existed within China long before Christianity. It's not a Christian doctrine.
They have a different philosophical like substrate though than we do.
No, they don't.
I would say the West and the East have been separated by Eastern mysticism, and Westerns, they believe more in like intellectual like logic, and they have different philosophical
I
presuppositions for
literally
doing the things that
disagree
they
with
do.
that wholeheartedly. Like half the
Okay.
world's greatest engineers come from China.
I didn't say they didn't make good systems. I was just saying that I feel like the democratic system, which we don't have a democracy, we have a representative republic
Yeah.
that's chosen by a democratic system
And
of
where did
voting.
this idea come from?
I believe that idea came from. I mean, I do think that like Socrates and Aristotle and the Romans, I think primarily is where it came from. Rome.
There's a guy named Plato that wrote a whole book about it.
Yes, the Plato's Republic. Yeah, I got it. I think that's where the ideas come from, and philosophically is where they started. But I believe like the laws and some of the founding documents of our country talk about a spiritual component, even referencing God directly in the Declaration of Independence.
Did it reference a Christian God?
No, but many of the founders were Christians,
And
or
many of them
deists
were
at the very
deists.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a mix of Christians and deists, but
right. Mm-hmm.
that kind of makes my point that Christian principles were definitely considered and argued over in Congress and enshrined into law. It's part of what created the society that we live in now. I'm not saying it was like.
So should we bring back Sabbath laws? Do you think we should be throwing people in jail for breaking the Sabbath?
I had an argument with a guy over the laws about the dietary laws and the Sabbath.
I didn't ask about dietary laws. About the Sabbath. Do you think that we should be arresting people for violating the Sabbath?
No, but I think.
Then what good are the biblical laws if you don't want to follow them?
It's not that it's the people who believe in them will actually follow.
You believe in them. You don't even want to follow it.
I go to church.
No. First of all, that's Sunday. It's not the Sabbath. Second of all, there's a punishment for breaking the Sabbath.
It's Saturday. I go to church on Saturday.
Okay, so you do actually follow the real Sabbath, but do you punish people for not following the Sabbath?
I feel like what does Paul say in Romans? He says, "I don't even judge myself, but I leave all the judgment to the Lord. The Lord is the judge. I'm not
the Lord. You just stone people. The Lord said to stone people that didn't obey the Sabbath.
Well, I'm not God though. Like I don't.
Did you leave it up to God or not?
Mine is flawed. Huh?
Did you leave it up to God or not? Because God said to stone him.
There's some. Well, Jesus comes and says some things and changes some things.
Like what? Because in Matthew 5, he says to follow the laws.
Here's what he says. He says, "Your people." The woman at the well is like, "Your people say we should worship on the mountain in Jerusalem, but my people say we should worship on the mountain here."
Was it John 4?
And he's
I think
like,
it's John 4.
"Truly, truly, I tell you." Yeah, it's yeah. Mm-hmm. But he said, "Truly, truly, I say to you, a day is coming, is now here, where you will worship neither on that mountain nor in the mountain in Jerusalem, but true worshipers will worship the Father, who is Spirit, in spirit and in truth."
Did he mention the laws there? That means
you can worship.
Because it almost sounds like he didn't say anything about the law in the passage you cited.
But he didn't say anything about Doug either.
Well, he doesn't have to. Jesus is a liar, Doug's the truth. So the fact of the matter is, we're talking about Jesus' position on the law. the passage you cited doesn't say anything about the law, but Jesus does talk about it. He says in Matthew 5, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish,
But to
but to
fulfill it.
fulfill." Yeah, abolish and fulfill
Right,
don't mean the
because
same
we
thing.
were-
I don't know if you knew this, but abolish means they go
I
away.
know, but
Fulfill means that you actually do them. That's why
always.
he says, "Truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass away from the law until all is accomplished." And then get this is where you you got Christians stop reading. Verse 19, "Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven." Which means Jesus thinks following the law makes you great. Can we agree on that?
I want to focus on two things. Jesus said, "All is finished" on the cross, meaning he fulfilled it all.
Nope,
He
that's not what
fulfilled
that
it
means.
because we were
Nope,
insufficient.
not what that means.
We disagree. I believe
Nope.
Jesus did
When
fulfill
Jesus says
it.
all
And
is
I think he
accomplished, he's
fulfilled it
referring
as a
to his
representative
mission.
head.
His mission is accomplished. He didn't say it's not a callback to Matthew 5. Matthew 5 says that all being accomplished includes the heaven and the earth passing away. The heaven and the earth didn't pass away. All is not accomplished according to Matthew 5.
Right, but the substitutionary atonement means that I get Jesus' perfection in the act of repentance, and I believe in faith that when he comes, I'll be welcomed by him because I have his perfection.
If you do what?
Huh?
Why do you need
If you
the
repent and
atonement?
believe the gospel.
No. Why do you need
You repent and
Jesus'?
believe the gospel.
Why do you need Jesus' blood?
Because no human being can be perfect or perfectly obey the law.
And thank you, because
It wasn't given for that.
sometimes people disobey the law. So God does want you to obey the law. Even in the Jesus framework, the Jesus blood is not to get rid of the law. The Jesus blood is to cover you for when you make mistakes and you don't actually follow the law to a T, which again is a contradiction of what God himself said in Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy, he says to follow the law literally forever.
God in Deuteronomy, it said it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins.
He did not
However,
say
that. Yeah, he did.
No, literally.
He said it is impossible. He said it is impossible.
He did not say
for
that
the blood
in
of bulls and
Deuteronomy.
goats to take away sins. Well, maybe not in Deuteronomy, but it was said in one of the prophets
Hebrews?
said it. I believe it was Isaiah. Isaiah. There's a passage where it says it's impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins, but it's done every year symbolically, in the hope that and then they talks about the foretellings of the Messiah where he would die as like a lamb.
That comes from
whatever.
Hebrews. Hebrews 9.
Hebrews is after that.
I know you're quoting Hebrews. That doesn't exist in the Old Testament. Hebrews says, "For if the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of a heifer sprinkling the unclean sanctifies the purifying of the flesh, so on and so forth."
Well, there's also a quote in Isaiah.
I think the one you're referring to, there's a passage in Hosea where he says, "Sacrifice I have not wanted," something of that nature.
Yeah. Sacrifices I have not required of you, but
that's the one you were looking for.
The sacrifice of praise. Yeah. The sacrifice of praise. Yeah. But my wife is getting mad at me.
Okay.
And I'm on 7% battery. But hey, I just wanted to come and try to convince you, but I guess this is not a good format for that. But
well, I need
I've
evidence.
appreciated the conversation.
Thanks, Jacob.
I'll what's your name again?
Justin.
Okay. It was nice meeting you, Justin.
Good talking to you, Jacob. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.
Those poor kids, unfortunately, they've been waiting for this conversation and didn't even get to go to the splash pad.